Hello, good evening, happy Sunday. Welcome to my analysis on Sunday, May 31st, the last day of the month, before we hit the half mark of the year. It's been a long 2.5, almost 3 months. It's almost been 3 months since we've been in quarantine. This is where we are in the world. Need a sip of wine, day 3 of madness. Let's get to this really quickly. I won't be with you before long, before the night ends, before you enjoy your Sunday and get ready for the work week indoors for some of you guys. Always have a piece of paper. Let's start with the coronavirus. All right, where we are in the coronavirus. Let's see. 1.8 million cases, almost 104,000 deaths. Still. And no mass testing. Until there's mass testing, I'm going to say it's always no more mass testing. But I was able to watch the governor's briefing. I take notes, so that's why I'm flipping my notebook. Hospitalizations, intubations, new cases at the door are down. We have about 370 something cases, almost probably 375, I can say. About 25,000 deaths. 56 people, which is the lowest thus far, have died from the coronavirus. Nothing to celebrate, but it's a big steep from where we are. Like about 2 months ago, we was at 784, I believe, and now we are at 700 and we was at 784, then 700 something, then 400 something, then 200 something, then 100, and now we are like under 100, which is pretty good because this way that we can we can monitor it halfway, and that we can stay on track and keep flattening the curve. It's going to take a minute for the cases to go down, but we can flatten the curve. So that's a good thing. He did express his concerns about the protesters. He is with the protesters. However, the whole raiding the stores and the looting, which are not the actual protesters. These are like people that wanted to start trouble. Like what Tamika Malley said, who's an activist based here in New York from the Bronx. She said these quote unquote protesters, because some of them are not real protesters, the real ones are out in the daytime and it's peaceful and they're chanting. They have an interior motive. And their interior motive is to cause ruckus and cause chaos and raid stores and, burn like cars down and businesses down. Like, that's not peaceful protest. What these actual protesters do in the daytime, they sing, like I said, they chant, they say no justice, no peace, no justice. Like, I forget the saying, but you get me. That's what they say. But these other folks, and these folks that's like burning down stuff and, raiding these stores, they're not black. These are mostly white people. These are not black people. These are white people that's not even down with the protests of Black Lives Matter, of protesting police brutality and racial injustice. These are people that have a website, which they came to burn business down. To me, I think they're white supremacists working for Trump. I may be wrong, but black people know from back in the day not to burn shit down. They know from 1968, when after Martin Luther King was assassinated, because that's when businesses, houses were burnt down in our communities, including in Harlem and the Bronx. We know the ramifications, I'm getting the word all crazy tonight of having our businesses burned down. That is the rise of gentrification. That's what, the clear folks, the translucent folks, starts planning things. So when that happens, of burning stuff down, that's when people start planning like, oh, I could take over the neighborhood again. And that's what's about to happen, which I fear that does not happen. That's why whoever's protesting, that's what Andrew Cuomo said, don't take away from what you're protesting for. And he blasted the Republicans. He blasted Trump. He gave a stark warning to the protesters. Whatever you're doing, if you do stuff wrong, you're going to give Trump a reason to do the shit that he does. And it's true, because they're capitalizing on this protest, saying, oh, if people are looting, I'm shooting. Like, that's wrong. That's almost Nixonian, if you really want to get technical. It's very Nixonian. With Nixon, when it was during the time when he was running for president, believe in 1968, his first term, he was running for his first term, there was the Vietnam War, protests of the Vietnam War from Black Panthers and from the hippie generation. And he was threatening to shoot them. Like, literally threatened to shoot them. Even though some of them did get shot. But that's what he was threatening to do. Right? He's threatening to do that. So when Trump says shit like that, it kind of reminds you of Nixon. And then with all the law and order, it reminds you of George Wallace. It reminds you of Bull Connor, who were the guys who unleashed dogs on civil rights protesters back in the 60s. So back to Cuomo, when he was given this during his briefing, he was basically explaining about the ramifications of what happens that gives Trump the stark reason. He said you can protest, but protest peacefully. But he did address that he is going to look into the NYPD, and AG James is definitely on it. So be prepared, because some folks in the NYPD might get arrested. And that's what Bill de Blasio, like, I'm done. I liked you in the first term, but then you became real shitty in the second term, especially when you start running for president. Like, that was ridiculous. When the city needs you the most. That's why whoever's running for mayor next year, it needs to be a woman. And it needs to be a woman of color. Because I think the city needs change. It's too many white men that's running these positions in the country and don't have a clue, most of them, of what they're doing. They don't. It's the truth. But more on Cuomo's briefing, you can catch it on YouTube. Because the words were very powerful. And he quoted Langston Hughes and Maya Angelou. So he gave a stark warning to the protesters. If you're protesting, don't lose the sight of the protests. In terms of politics and race in America, as you know, this was one of the most craziest weeks that we had in our politics. We had a guy that was called on at Central Park by a white woman who was actually a bird watcher and a Harvard graduate. So that's for starters. But she ended up losing her job and losing her dog. So she got the ramifications of that. Because God don't like ugly. And then Tuesday, George Floyd was killed, and massive protesters started breaking out in Minneapolis, and then it was a chain reaction. Minneapolis, St. Louis, Atlanta, New York, Philadelphia, Camden, New Jersey, Newark, New Jersey, all U.S. cities. All U.S. cities. In terms of these protesters, most of these protesters are peaceful, like I said. You got some bad apples, like Tamika Mallory said, who just is there for, their own self-gratification. Like they're there to start shit. I think, like I said, they work for Trump, so they're making it seem like they want people to get killed in these protests. To keep it freaking real, they are. They're anarchists. Some of them are burning shit up in our communities. Thank God, and I pray, and I hope I don't see in the news that they didn't do anything to Harlem, the Bronx, or some parts of Brooklyn that is predominantly minority. Because, like I said, we went through this shit in the 60s. We don't want to go through this shit again. Because gentrification drove New Yorkers out of New York. People who had good jobs in New York. So when you see gentrification, Like I imagine when people burning up shit and you see gentrification, it's like you're not there to protest with us. You're there to start shit. You're not there for the cause, as he said. So I mean, think about it. Like these quote unquote other protesters, these ones that's doing all the dirt, these supremacists, they have an interior motive. And that's how I look at it. Because the actual protesters in the daytime are protesting peace. Because that's what they're doing. And some of my friends were protesting, so I know. As for the Republicans, it seems like they're tone deaf. It's like they seem like they don't care of what the cause is. They're saying this is Antifa doing this and doing that. I don't think Antifa has anything to do with this. These are just random ass people that have a thing on the internet. It's like a certain group. It's not Antifa. And they just looting stores and burning stuff up in African American and Hispanic communities. Because that's what they're doing. This is not Antifa. So when Trump makes shit up, don't listen to him. He's putting out a series of tweets ready to like shoot people. And it usually makes no sense. It really makes no sense at all. And he put out a tweet saying law and order. And then Pence actually came out the Wolfworth and said something, we are a country of law and order. They want to start a race war. Trump built his campaign around racist rhetoric. I am not surprised that he did that because Donald Trump is a racist. Always have been. If you grew up in New York, you knew who he was. If you even grew up in Northern Jersey, you knew who he was. This man was never a friend to black people. As I grew up in Harlem, I never saw this man come uptown to any school, any community events, nothing. He stayed downtown in that building on 57th and 5th. That's where he was. He was never in the neighborhood. I never saw that man in the neighborhood in a day of my life. That's all I'm saying. Never saw him. Never saw him coming around. So tell me, he's a friend to the African community. MAGA love the African community. It's complete bullshit. Keep your ears open to the grifting. The grifting and the grifters. Like grifting. I read the definition, but I'm going to read the definition again. A grifter is somebody who can influence anybody anywhere at any time into doing whatever they choose to do, have them to do, that will result in a grifter's personal request. The actual definition is a swindler and a dishonest gambler. Most likely a con artist. So there's grifters like Donald Trump and his surrogates. And then you got grifters on the left like the people at Young Turks, Jacobian, Intercept, Crystal Ball, Ryan Grimm. These are people that quote unquote saying they for Black Lives Matters. They're bullshit. It's not. They're scam artists. That's who they are. That is exactly who they are. They're not real at all. And they're not for the cause. If they were for the cause, they would be marching with people. They would be standing in solidarity with us. They would be on the news talking about it. Having interviews with people. Calling for the arrest of George Floyd murderers. Ahmaud Arbery murderers. Breonna Taylor's murderers. And they're not. They're not. I don't see it. They keep propping up these quote-unquote populist candidates like Trump and Bernie. What have they done for people in general? Not just black people, people in general, because I don't know what they done. But to each his own, because I'm not going there. I am not going there. But, however, speaking of people, Don Lemon basically let it in on celebrities as well. He called out celebrities for not speaking, for they tweeting like crazy, like Diddy and them, but you're not talking to these law officials and standing in solidarity with these protesters. He quoted all black media. Like, where are you? Like, honestly, I love Don Lemon. I give him props because where are you? You're not standing in solidarity with these protesters. They're protesting, justice and equality, and you're not doing anything to raise money or doing things to like stand there with them, talk with them. Like, I can give credit. Like I said, Joe Biden was not my ideal candidate, but the fact is that he asked protesters and talked with protesters and what their needs and everything. That shows leadership. Donald Trump has not even come out and say, I stand in solidarity with you. He's sending out tweets like law and order. That is not standing in solidarity with racial injustice and inequality that we've been dealing with for a very long time. Before even I was born, and I was born in the 80s, racial injustice has been going on for many, many years and centuries. And people in my mom and my dad's time, they were fighting for it, and most of them got killed, black and white, that was standing up for this. And now we got people uniting together to end, racial injustice and end police brutality. You have a leader in the White House who's saying law and order and will shoot people. That is not leadership. That is not the America that I grew up to know. America has not been kind to people of color, in particular black people. However, it was not as divided like this. This reminds you of the 60s, where the 60s was about change. It was a turbulent time in our politics. It was a very turbulent time. A lot of bloodshed. A lot of people were killed. But they were killed for standing up for what's right. And these people are being beat on by police of doing what's right, because Donald Trump gave them the the green light to do whatever. When will this will end, as I say? When will America will get to a place where we can actually pass legislation like Andrew Cuomo said from his briefing? We cannot lose sight of what we're trying to do. America is going through a really tough time. And as I conclude, we have to stand on what's right, and we have to fight with what's right, but not use violence. Use our words. Use our power. Vote these folks out. Send letters to our leaders. Call our elected officials so we can get things done. That is the only way that we are going to get things done if you vote. For the folks saying their vote don't matter are sadly mistaken. Because your vote matters, because what is going on is what happens when people stay home. We can't stay home. We have to be vigilant. We have to be open. We have to be loud about it. And we have to take our butts to the ballot box. So as I say, let's keep hope alive. Let's pray on it. And let's go to the ballot box in November. I see you tomorrow evening. Have a good night.